Hi there, everyone. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate taking this time out. I know we will definitely finish by, 7:45. I know some people would like to watch the Jays game at 8 for sure, so we'll get all that in. And wanted to really thank, Alan Cameron and Marlene Doss for coming in. And so just, Marlene, just give us some information about you, like, let the audience know about who you are and what you do. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure being here. So I'm a lawyer in
Right.
the GTA. We have been in practice for over 20 years,
Right.
and our firm provides multi-services, estate planning, estate administration, real estate, litigation, tax. We pretty much have it all in there, immigration as well. And I love doing these things because I think education is such an important part. If people don't know what they need and why they need it, they're
Right.
not going to do it. So
Right. Right.
it's a pleasure being here and being with both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah. And Alan, I know you come every other Sunday on 1010. And so, yeah, just give us some information about you and your business.
Yeah, I'm a senior family wealth advisor with Bellwether Investment Management. And yeah, I've been 20 odd years doing a radio program in the Toronto area. So every other Sunday on 1010 at noon, we do an hour-long live show, call-in show there.
Yeah.
But we are essentially, we're all things financial, investment advisors, financial planners. We do insurance, all that. So uh, I guess the easiest way to wrap it up is it's big picture financial planning.
Right.
But if it has a financial bearing on your life, then that's we're there to help clients through.
Yeah. Thank you for to both of you to coming in. I think your advice will really help a lot of our clients to really pre-plan. And it's all about pre-planning. Like it could be your estate, your wills, your financial portfolio, all that. So we'll have a lot of questions to actually discuss today. And I know a lot of them won't be actually talked about in detail, but what we actually want to do is, give you as much information as possible so that at the end of the day, if there is further questions, then we have here, Marlene and Alan to ask any questions afterwards. We would have this session most probably like, 15, 20 minutes for each person, but we're going to combine all the questions together. So we are hoping that we'll have maybe finished by 30, 35 minutes and then maybe 10 minutes for asking questions. So after, one of them talks like, Alan or Marlene talks about certain strategies or issues, if some question comes up, please send it to us at the very end. So then Jacinia, who's with us, would then take those questions and give you answers either while we are doing the webinar or later. So yeah, so let's start off. So I know currently, first-time buyers are trying to get into the market, right? And we know that sometimes it's tough because, jobs or income that they're earning is not enough to qualify. And sometimes the down payment is not enough. So sometimes they receive help from their parents, right? And we in Canada have a lot of tax-free saving account, RRSP, tax-free saving. And the other one I think I wanted you to touch on is the, uh, what is it called?
FHSA.
Yeah, FHS. Yeah, yeah. So can you expand on that? And, if the actual buyer doesn't have some money, they can maybe lend from parents and also get the credit. So just some, because I know RSP, TFSA, a lot of people know about it. But this, a few additional things that was added recently, if you can briefly let the audience know what it is and what benefits they can receive.
Yeah, the GTA and Vancouver are among the most expensive and unaffordable real estate markets in the world.
Right.
It's a very difficult place for young people to enter
Right.
and start in with that first home. So, as you, I'm sure, have encountered many, many times, they're going to get help from parents. They
Right.
need a little help to get over the edge. But there's also quite a lot of help available in the form of these accounts, and it's government tax money, it's tax savings that's helping people to accumulate these down payments.
Right.
If you don't know about them, and I'll go through them real quick just because there is a Jays game, I'll go through them real quick. But if you don't take advantage of these, and the people bidding against that property with you did, then you're at a disadvantage.
Right.
Right? It's difficult to save. It's difficult enough to save up for a down payment in the GTA. All the more so if you're bidding against people who took full advantage of all the smart things they ought to do, and you're trying to save with after-tax dollars to figure out how to come up with that down payment. The biggest one, and I think the best one now, is relatively recent, the first home savings account.
Right.
You have to open the account before you get contribution room. It's not like your RSP or TFSA. You have to open an account, and once you do, in the 15 years that follows, you can put $8,000 per year in. If you miss 1 year, you can use that. You can catch up 1 year the following year or subsequent years.
Right.
But your maximum contribution is $40,000, lifetime contribution. You put that in, let's say, over the first 5 years. You're going to get the tax deductions equivalent to your contributions, much like an RSP.
Right.
The money you put in there, you can take the tax deductions then, you can save them for years down the road when you might be at higher tax brackets. But one of the reasons why we might want to take them now, even though you might not be at your peak earnings years, is because you're going to use that tax savings, the refund that you get, not just to help you save towards the house, but
Right.
certainly you will.
Right.
But then what if you take that money and take your tax refund and put that in your RSP? Because the next program that makes a lot of sense for first-time homebuyers is the RSP Homebuyers Program. That's been around for years, but it's been enhanced a few times along the way, and most recently in a budget or two ago. So now it's $60,000. This is money you can contribute to RSPs. It grows tax-free as it does in the FHSA.
Right.
And you're allowed to withdraw $60,000, but it's a loan that you've made to yourself. You withdraw from the RSP. You can use it for the down payment, no tax penalty, nothing else. But over the 15 plus years, not the year you borrow it, not the year after, but in the 15 years that follow, you have to repay it 1/15 at a time. Not the end of the world. That certainly helps to, I mean, that's a lot of money to put down.
Right.
And this applies to both spouses.
Right.
So both of them could do 40,000 plus the growth from the FHSA.
Right.
Both of them could do 60,000 each from their RSP homebuyers.
Right.
That's a fair chunk of cash.
Yeah.
And all of it tax motivated, tax incented.
Right.
So they're going to be able to deduct all this. The
Right.
key for the FHSA is the money that you withdraw. Even though you got to write off the income and you don't have to pay tax on that, you get a refund, is you don't have to pay the taxes.
Oh,
When you
wow.
withdraw it to
Yeah.
use for the home,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay it back. You don't have to claim it as income.
Right.
It's just a tax motivated, tax incented savings plan that helps you to come up with that down payment. And that's the first place I would look to start saving.
Yeah. And what did you say was the total amount you can contribute to that?
Yeah, you can contribute $40,000
Right.
over the 15-year life of the plan,
Yeah.
a maximum of $8,000 per year. So
Yeah.
if you're really socking away money for a first home,
Right.
in 5 years you can put 40,000 in, plus whatever it grows to, and all of it tax free, and that can be withdrawn tax free, never to be repaid. It's just money that's going into what is now a tax free principal residence.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
a pretty powerful
Yeah.
way to save and accumulate assets.
Yeah. So that's one strategy to just save taxes and save money. Because I think right now, if your family's looking to purchase, what ways can you actually create the down payment? And this is one, because I think if everybody's following the market, you know that prices have actually depreciated over the past 2-3 years from 2022. And what has also happened is the mortgage rates have actually gone down. So compared to like last year, when you look at the rate for a $1 million property, people are actually saving $600 monthly on their mortgage payments. And so that's additional benefit plus this tax saving. So that's really a great information.
Yeah, affordability is on the mend.
Yeah.
And yet it's still an enormous amount for a young couple to start out.
Oh yeah, yeah. And any help that they can get, such as this, and even parents, that would really help, right? And one additional I wanted to add is that right now the prices are low. So the money that you're saving or borrowing, and you know that real estate prices 3, 4, 5 years down the road are only going to go up. So this investment here, if you can double that investment of down payment, that's huge. And that's what a lot of homeowners have done over the past 20, 30, 40 years. And this is how we create wealth here in Canada, right? So now, yeah, so let's go into estate planning. So I know, that's something that really comes up in everybody's mind. Like you have saved all your money for so many years. You have properties, principal residence, sometimes even rentals. Then you have all your RSPs, all the stocks, everything. And then you need to plan for your estate, right? So I know, one thing that sometimes I've heard is that 50% of people don't have wills, right? And estate planning is not just, for the wealthy. It's for everyone, right? Because I mean, I've had cases where people didn't have a will, and then the state took over the money because they didn't have anyone to actually claim that, right? But what I think is, what's the importance? So we know, people get married, they get separated, they get divorced. So we handle this every day. So what is it that you need to do on a will? And I know we'll go into probate, non-probate, all those things. But what are the basic things that you need to do to be on a will and to maybe protect you, yourself, your family, all the years that you've actually worked, and your loved ones? So go ahead, Marlene.
Okay, that's a big question. So I think people hesitate to do this for a couple of reasons. I think that's the first problem. You said 50% of people have it. Of that 50%, I think the stats say that only 30% of them actually have them up to date.
Right.
So a lot of them have done it, 20, 30 years ago when they first got married or when they had their first kid. Nothing is up to date and lots has changed. But because it's not a bill that you have to pay tomorrow. It's not required under the law to have that, like an insurance policy, car insurance, etc. It goes on the back burner for a lot of us, understandably. And I think people don't realize the impact that it has. So as you said, some people think I don't really have anything. I don't need to worry about it. Well, I can tell you I've been dealing with one estate for 2 years now, over 2 years now, for somebody who had nothing, just a bank account with like $230,000 in it. But because there's no will and there are estranged siblings and he wasn't married, no children, it's been quite the journey. So even if you think you don't have a lot, leaving anything behind without having a plan in place, generally speaking, causes your family and your loved ones a lot more stress and anxiety when they're already grieving than is necessary. A lot of other people will, and I think people just don't understand what happens with your estate if you have a will and what happens if you don't have a will.
Right.
How are things dealt with? And I think we're going to get into that. But at the most basis level, people need to understand their assets. They need to understand what they own and how, what it actually means. A lot of people are surprised, and you might have seen a recent article in the news about somebody who passed away banking everything in her RSP, and it came with a huge tax bill that was avoidable and shocked their family, So because death is a huge tax triggering event.
All right.
And if you don't have the proper plan in place, no matter how diligent you are with saving and with thinking about your family and your loved ones, if you don't understand what you have and what's going to happen,
Right.
then not only are you unprepared, but they are unprepared.
Right.
So yes, at the very basic level, you need a will and you need your power of attorney for personal care and you need your power of attorney for property.
Right.
Those are just essential.
Basic ones.
Basic.
Yeah.
And don't do them yourself, I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, for the very, very, very limited
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
the online platforms might be okay, but for the majority of people, it just doesn't work because it doesn't deal with complex family situations. It doesn't ask you if you have a blended family. It doesn't ask you if there's, a family member that's going to be upset if they're not included. It doesn't ask you why you're choosing that particular executor and trustee, to manage everything and whether they can actually handle it, and doesn't explain what that responsibility means, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's anything you can add from your thing with regards to the will. I know you do a lot of planning too.
Yeah. Pains me to admit, but we are all going to die.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's not a fire that needs to be put out today.
Right.
It's not something that is screaming for your attention today. But every day you live, you're a day closer to death,
Right.
and it's coming. I, it's an uncomfortable discussion sometimes, particularly for young families. The guardianship issues often is a stumbling block.
Mhm.
Can't quite decide, don't even want to think about what happens if we leave minor children. So we put it off. But if you fail to make that decision, it will be simply made for you,
Correct.
Yeah.
right? It'll be made by government, it'll be made by the public trustee's office. Those decisions are going to get made.
Yes.
If you want to weigh in on it,
All right.
if you care about what happens to your assets, where the
Yes.
money goes, how much tax you pay, how much probate fee you pay, if you care about all those things, and you ought to, you worked hard for it, then you do this. But don't even think of it as something that is some task that you have to do. Whatever you write down, whatever you do now is better than what you've got. If you have
Yes.
nothing, whatever you do is better.
Right.
Change it down the road if you need to. But what you're doing is a kindness to the people you leave behind.
Yeah.
This is to make their lives easier so they don't spend years in litigation, years trying to get through the probate process and
Yes.
ultimately claim that money. Do it for those people. It's so much easier for you to take care of these estate planning issues than it will be for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, frankly, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And it really is an act of love, as you're saying, to take care of these pieces and put them in writing and make sure things are organized so that your loved ones that are left behind, or if you got sick, I mean, God forbid you actually own a business as well,
Yeah.
and you're in that situation. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Who's going to be in charge? Do they even know? Often in families, there's only one individual that has an understanding of the finances, often.
Right.
And part of this process encourages the family members to have the conversations, to, everybody get on the same page,
Right.
to discuss what's there, to have their safety plans and know what's what,
Yeah.
So many of the vehicles that we use to accumulate our wealth. You have FHSAs, TFSAs, RSPs, RIFs, LIFs, all of these things. They all give you the option of naming a beneficiary.
Right.
If nothing else, make sure you do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Name a beneficiary. Once in a while, maybe there's a circumstance where you want to leave it to the estate.
Right.
It's going to be subject to probate if you do.
Right.
But that happens pretty quickly. If you name a beneficiary, that money gets to your heirs relatively quickly.
Yeah.
If you do none of that, then who's going to pay the bills? Who can access the account just to make sure the hydro gets paid, the property taxes get paid?
Mhm.
You can leave them in quite a lurch and really desperate for funds,
Right.
and it's not going to happen fast when it's
Yeah.
left to the government, the public trustee's office. None of these things are going to move fast.
Right.
So yeah, this is a kindness, but it's also a responsibility. I often enough refer to life insurance. Sure, you have a responsibility to people. You want to make sure that you're taken care of when you're gone. But there's nothing more selfless than life insurance. You
Right.
literally cannot benefit yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're spending your money, but you cannot possibly benefit. You're dead.
Yeah.
But it's still something that people recognize and they need to do, and the will and power of attorney is just the same.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, those are great observations. And I think what is so critical is that, it's not urgent, right? Because people know that, they're not dying now, or you never know, but things happen.
Correct.
And then when that happens, a basic, maybe it'll take a week or something to actually prepare it, but it's all worth that time because, like you said, it's the people who you leave behind. I mean, challenges in courts and everything. And what I think is so critical is that, there is the power of attorney or the trustee or the executor who's actually going to be there. They should be well aware of what everything is. And they should know who's receiving what, the benefits. And I think there is something that we had talked about that you have to review your will like every few years, is it? Or and update it. How many, like every,
I mean, I tell my clients at least every 3 years, just take a look at it and see if anything has changed.
Right.
Whether, family members have been added somebody has passed,
Right.
people that you've named in your will have come and gone, you have a change of heart, you know,
Right.
you've accumulated a lot of wealth or you're getting rid of a whole bunch of it,
Right.
and to see whether things need to be adjusted in your plans
Right.
to accommodate for those things. More often than not, the answer is going to be no,
Yeah.
you know, and when we design it, we try to make it so that unless you have big changes, you don't actually have to
Right.
update it frequently,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of broad language that's included in the wills, unless you have specific gifts that you want to give to particular people or particular charities. The design of them, when they're done correct, is that, you know, you're kind of setting up an insurance policy.
Yeah.
That's how I tell my clients to treat it.
Yeah.
Act as if you're setting up an insurance policy. It's not a crystal ball. It's not going to tell you when you're going to pass away. I know there's a lot of many cultures that have hesitations with this because they think if they talk about this and plan for it, they're sealing their fate.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
is going to come for all of
Yeah.
us at some point. We
Yeah.
don't know when,
Yeah.
and what it's going to look like is going to be up to you.
Yeah.
But I've never have a client say, I really regret doing this.
Yeah.
It's always, I can relax now.
Yeah.
I feel so much better. I feel peace of mind. You know, I'm so glad I got this done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is usually the reaction because it does weigh on your mind, you
Right.
know, and
Yeah.
people are watching things like this and they are learning. So they know that it's something that needs to get done, and then it just sits there, you know,
Yeah.
bugging you
Yeah.
until you actually get it in place.
Yeah. Yeah, and also on that, I think I've heard that it's good to make a list of all your bank accounts,
Yeah.
all your savings, trust, and everything, and have it in that will so you know if something changes with anything, you update it, right? And there was one thing that I wanted to maybe, inform the audiences. So for example, there's two parties, like, the two spouses, and one passes away. And there is something either the successor or beneficiary. So if you have the other spouse as a successor or beneficiary, can you expand on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're working with somebody who knows their stuff, and this isn't complicated, you'll all know it in about 2
Yeah.
seconds here. But the number of times that I see somebody who's wandered into their bank branch and gets this wrong is shocking. So on the TFSA, you can name a beneficiary, the person who's going to get this money when you die, or you can name a successor annuitant.
All right.
The successor annuitant is the spouse.
All right.
If you have a spouse and you want them to get this money, that's who you name.
All right.
It has to be a successor annuitant.
And it flows tax-free, right?
It flows tax-free regardless.
Right.
Right. So even a beneficiary gets it tax-free. The big difference is
Right.
if you name a spouse as a beneficiary,
Right.
they get whatever's in the TFSA tax-free.
Right.
Comes to them. It doesn't go through probate. Doesn't go through the will.
Right.
It comes to them, but it's not still in a TFSA.
Oh.
It's no longer sheltered.
Right.
So if you had a husband and wife with $150,000 each in a TFSA, one passes away.
Right.
If you name them as successor annuitant,
Yeah.
that spouse now has $300,000 in one TFSA,
Yeah.
still sheltered from tax.
Yeah.
If you name them as beneficiary, they get $150,000, and now it can't be put back in a TFSA.
Okay.
They've used up their TFSA.
Yeah.
And that is a monstrous difference.
Yeah.
Compound that over 10, 20, 30 years
Yeah.
when the next spouse dies.
Yeah.
You could be talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of
Yeah.
tax from that one little mistake.
Yeah.
Just don't make that mistake.
Yeah. So that's another tax saving tip, a tip, because where you actually transfer that to the spouse, that grows tax-free in that.
Huge estate planning difference.
Yeah.
Right. If you have enough funds and you're planning on leaving a bunch of money to your family,
Right.
one of the things we would often enough do is you wind down your RIF and you have your government pensions, maybe a company pension.
Right.
And if you live off those, that's all wonderful. The last thing we might touch
Right.
is your TFSAs, because they could be worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And along with your principal residence, you could have $1 million home and $1 million worth of TFSAs.
All tax-free.
All of it tax-free to your dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there is, on the same topic, if you can just expand on probate and non-probate properties, right?
Mhm.
Now, probate and non-probate, like properties, I know there is probate and non-probate. Like, does the stocks, RRSPs also come into that category or no? Or it's probate or no?
If you name beneficiaries,
Yeah.
RSPs, TFSAs, FHSAs, all these RESPs, all these accounts can name beneficiaries.
Right.
Segregated funds and insurance contract
Right.
can name beneficiaries.
Right.
Insurance policies name beneficiaries.
Right.
If you have a named beneficiary, it's not subject to probate
Okay.
unless you put estate as. We rarely are ever going to want to do that.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, so you can avoid probate and all of these things. Maybe joint tenants with rights of survivorship on bank accounts for elderly parents
Right.
passes without probate.
Okay.
Right? Now, properties.
But you have to be careful,
Yeah.
especially if you have more than one child.
Right.
So a lot of the mistakes that I'm seeing is, and there's presumptions under the law now, if you name one adult child on these accounts and stuff, it's presumed that they're holding it in trust for you. So you have to have something to paper that up if your intention is to leave it to the one child and exclude the others.
Right.
And it can often lead to litigation,
Right.
of course, and whoever it is that's doing this can lose control of those assets, and one day down the road, if they need it, they no longer have access to it because the other person that's jointly on it has to agree to that.
Right.
And the other issue is if the person that's jointly with you runs into trouble, gets divorced, becomes bankrupt, has creditors coming after them, now your assets are subject to those things. So and I think a lot of especially elderly people think that it's a great plan to just add everybody onto everything.
Right.
But you really do have to have a plan in place for that. Even if it's real estate,
Right.
Adding your child that may not have a home
Right.
onto the real estate, a lot of them don't realize that first of all, they lose their first time buyers benefits,
Yeah.
exemptions,
Yeah.
yes. That's one thing, which is not a big deal because they're gaining a whole property, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
but that's one thing that people don't realize. But it's also, even when you're speaking about the contributions that they're making with their children.
Yeah.
If a parent gifts a chunk for one child to buy a property
Right.
and they don't record it somewhere,
Yeah.
like in their will, they plan to do the same for their second, third children down
Right.
the road,
Right.
but something happens and they die in between.
Yeah.
Well, now there's an inequality
Yeah.
in the distribution of the estate. And guess what happens? The beneficiaries fight.
Yeah.
It leads to breakdowns of relationships and families always,
Always.
constantly. It's
Yeah.
an ongoing issue,
Yeah.
It's shocking how often
Yeah.
lack of planning and attention to these details ends up with families who don't speak.
Correct.
And I'm quite certain that that's
Yeah.
not what anybody had in mind.
No.
No.
Just because
They don't
we
want to
didn't
talk
take care
about it
of
because they
this.
don't want to upset their family members, but by not talking about it, they've just left this, disaster
Yeah.
zone for their family members,
Yeah.
Even with the beneficiary designation.
Yeah.
You do have to be careful if you have minors,
Yeah.
right? It's not, if you have minors, you don't just add them onto everything. There's implications that will attach to that, Life insurance policies, often you can have somebody holding it on behalf of the child until they are of age or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
trustees, but RSPs and stuff, you don't want to add your minor children
Yeah.
as beneficiaries there,
Yeah,
right?
they won't get it until they're 18, but do you ever want to leave millions of dollars to an 18-year-old?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You certainly don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So.
And that all comes to wills, right? How you set
Yes.
it up. So, and it's so key that, families, individuals, they work so hard, right? They, save, right? And just, a few days of preparing it and updating it regularly when things change. Like you said, you contributed to one child and the other child doesn't know or comes to know about it later. They can contest the will, right? Later on, and then there's litigation, legal issues, everything that happens, right? So it's so important that we have that. And power of attorneys, I think sometimes you have to make sure that, they can actually act for you, right? And I had this situation where on a will, the family had power of attorneys, but when we actually went to them, when both of them passed away, they said, no, we cannot act on their behalf. And then, it was such a big challenge, right?
Yes.
So we need to make them aware that, every year or every 2 years, you're still power of attorney and can you still act?
Right.
If you cannot act, you need to change that.
Yes.
All right?
Well, even just the difficulty if they're not in province.
Yeah.
Right? And children move.
Yeah.
They don't always stay near home. So you may have named them years ago and just haven't bothered to review.
Yes.
They're no longer in the province and it becomes a real complication.
Yeah.
Yeah. even with the trustees.
Yeah.
A lot of people try to name people that are outside of the country.
Right.
Entirely forget in Ontario
Yeah.
entirely because they're next, that's my sister, my brother, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but you need to know what they're going to have to do, that they're going to have to post a bond in the court if they become appointed.
Yeah.
Can they actually do it? It's a long process.
Right.
It's going to take a lot of traveling back and forth for them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. It's not, I think people think, when they think of trustees and executors, the default is I'm going to name the person that I love the most,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice because you trust them.
Right.
But it's a big responsibility.
For
Like there's a lot that's involved when somebody passes away.
Yeah.
It's the tax filings, income taxes, the personal taxes.
Yeah.
It's the capital gains, dealing with those pieces.
Yeah.
It's clearing out the homes. It's gathering the estate and following the will.
Yeah.
Dealing with the lawyers, the accountant, the financial advisors. There's a lot of work that goes into acting as a trustee.
Yeah.
And
a
they need to be
lot
capable.
of them, like, the ones that we have dealt with, they say, why did they name me as the trustee?
Yes.
Because they're saying, I don't want to deal with it.
Yes.
And some people are so busy, they don't have the time.
And they can refuse to be appointed.
Yeah.
So now you've wasted it. So, our process is always, okay, great that you're talking to us. Have you spoken to them? Make sure you speak to them, make sure they understand and get them consent before we put them into any of these documents. And make sure you have backups.
Yeah.
So if something happens to that first person, they pass away, they become incapable. Again, you don't have to come to the table necessarily to update everything unless they're, sometimes we'll need to, but at least you have the backup written in these documents.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not written up, there is no backup.
Yeah. I know people who have, maybe bigger estate. Sometimes they hire banks or do they hire people like you to be a trustee for their estate? Or how does that work? Do you know? Like sometimes it's tough for them to have the kids, and sometimes they don't know if one kid is going to make the decision that is going to favor them. Sometimes they hire an outside person because they may hire other family members, but then that's cost effective. But then when you hire someone, things are going to get done. So can you give us some advice on that?
You want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, professional trustees, it can sometimes be the right option.
Right.
As you're talking about the difficulty, the complexity, the work involved, there's lots and lots of people who, if you ask, you want to be an executor, they're honored.
Yeah.
But if they've done it before, 50-50 chance they say
It's a no. Yeah.
right? It's a lot of work, and in my experience, anybody who's done it once is very hesitant to do it twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, professional trustees are an option,
Right.
but it's not free, and it can be pretty expensive.
Right.
We can't be named as executors. It's conflict of interest.
Okay.
But for our clients, even as you were speaking before, we have them fill out estate directories. That here's the list, and it's pages and pages, all the things you could possibly think of to write down for somebody if they had to take over your life tomorrow.
Right.
Right. So we'll have them do that, but mostly we have them attach a business card. If we're their financial planner, I know where things are. We do their tax returns for these clients. Right. We know where the things are, and we also know what has to be done. So the executor, first day, they can contact us, contact the lawyer.
Yes.
And a lot of the work, a lot of the concerns, a lot of the uncertainties disappear then. We go through this every year, all the time. And it's easier for us to pull all this together and say, this is what needs to happen next. This is where we turn next. Here's what we're going to do with that terminal tax return. Maybe we're going to file a second or a third tax return.
Yeah.
We do tax planning well ahead of time, but you also do it after the fact.
Right.
So they don't have to know it all. They just have to know where to turn.
Right. And that's
trustees can also, so if you name a trust company, if it's more complex and, that whoever you're thinking of and whoever you trust will not be able to do it on their own. They can either go to the trust companies after you've passed and hire them as agents, right? Or agree to them being appointed if it comes to that.
Right.
We technically can be appointed as trustees, but I generally don't do it.
Yeah.
But we support our clients through
Right.
the process as much as they need to. Some of them are, well equipped and they can do it, and we guide them and deal with the court process of it.
Right.
But sometimes they need more than that,
Yeah.
right? They need guidance of where to go to cancel the the driver's license and the social insurance number and, all those things, right? Like all of that is involved
Yeah.
in the process. But
Right.
whether you include them in your will, and sometimes it does make sense.
Yeah.
I actually helped a couple where they were quite high net worth. And but the husband is the one that ran the business side of it,
Right.
uh, good relationship, etc. But they both knew that if he passed away, she wouldn't be able to handle it. So in her will, she
Yeah.
just named him,
Right.
and that was going to be fine.
Right.
He would be able to handle it. But in his will, he named her with the trust company
Okay.
because he knew that she was not going to be able
Okay.
to handle
All
the
right.
financial pieces, the accounting, the business, and
Yeah.
the company that was hired
Yeah.
had an understanding already
All
of
right.
his business, and it just made sense.
Yeah.
Or even do a separate will for the business. You can
Oh,
always
you
do that.
should do a separate will for the business in almost all circumstances.
Right.
Yes. If you have a business,
Right.
then that's a different conversation. Sometimes you even need separate powers of attorneys, at least for property,
Right.
for the business if you have, partners, etc.
Right.
Business has its own thing. Shareholder agreements, all those things are important when
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah.
business.
And
Yes.
continuity is important.
Exactly.
When the principal of a business dies,
Right.
that might be one of the biggest assets that his family has, and they may be
Yes.
relying on it.
Yeah.
It has to be able to continue to function.
Right.
Payrolls need to be met the
Yeah.
following week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having a separate power of attorney and will, there's potential for probate savings, but a lot of it's just about continuity.
Yeah.
Yes.
And can a grieving spouse step in and take over running the business to next week?
Right.
Well,
But
maybe
they've
not.
never
Maybe
been
it should be
involved in
someone else.
Yeah.
Likely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the reason a lot of small businesses that they work as a family sometimes, and then they don't set it up right,
Yes.
and then one passes away, the main person, and then you see that the business winds up because they cannot just function, right?
Yes.
So
And undoubtedly squanders an asset.
oh
Right.
yeah,
The business may splinter apart.
right,
The
Yeah.
customers leave, the employees leave.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a substantial asset, but
Right.
if it's not properly dealt with,
yeah,
it's a squandered asset.
for sure,
And
yeah,
it's not uncommon because small business owners, especially the family-run ones, they
Yeah.
often start small,
right,
and then 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, suddenly it's exploded. And
yeah,
nobody has stopped to do tax planning, to get the financial advisors, to get the insurance policies, to set up the wills and the powers of attorneys, to talk about what's going to happen, what's the expectations between family members.
right,
So it is important, like for all of us, not just business owners,
yeah,
to take a pause and really make this a priority
yeah,
and set these things up
right,
because nobody can do it for you.
yeah,
Even a power of attorney for property can't do your wills, and they can do a lot of other things for you, but they can't prepare wills for you,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I know. I've heard people talk about having an insurance policy to save taxes. So can you expand on that?
Yeah. Quickest answer to that is the proceeds from insurance policies are tax-free.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
my father, as you're talking here, my father died at 48.
Right.
Not expected,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But he taught me a lot about what I learned before I got into this business. And so the insurance was in place,
Right.
the proper power of attorney, wills, all of these things were in place.
Right.
And we talked. We
Right.
knew where things were. We knew what had to be done. Right?
That's good.
If you're not going to have open, frank discussions about money with your family, then even more important that you take care of all these things.
Correct.
Yeah.
The insurance, I've been insurance licensed for, I don't know, 30 odd years.
Yeah.
I'll venture that I've probably unsold more insurance, maybe 2 or 3 times more insurance than I've sold.
Yeah.
Lots of people have it because they've been told they ought to get it.
Yeah.
And often enough, you're talking to an insurance agent whose only income is selling insurance.
Yeah.
You may need it, you may not.
Right.
Get the right type. And if it's something like an unexpected death at 48, it was critical.
Yeah.
It really mattered.
Yeah.
I'm 60 now. I don't need insurance. My kids are in their 30s.
Yeah.
They're all doing fine. I don't need it. I
Yeah.
might want it. There are
Right.
tax benefits that
Right.
can come from that, especially for business owners.
Right.
There is a whole carve out on the Income Tax Act that favors insurance in some ways. But that said, there are
Right.
lots of people who just don't need it,
Don't need it.
and they
Yeah.
don't need that extra expense.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to leave a cottage, leave a business, and
Right.
you want that to continue in the family,
Right.
insurance is often one of the ways.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I think those are key, right? I mean, sometimes you see or hear about advertising, protect and then take insurance. But like you said, you may need it or may not need it. At the end of the day, you have to look at what you're actually going to spend and what benefit you're going to get, right?
Yes.
It's part of a financial plan,
Right.
and part of the concern I have with it is if you, there's the old saying, if for a man with only a hammer in his tool belt, every problem is a nail.
Right.
Right? If you go to talk to somebody who can only sell you an insurance policy, not surprisingly, the answer to all your financial goals and questions is
Right.
insurance.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody who can say, no, I can accumulate wealth for you some other way. I
Right.
don't need this expense.
Right.
That said, there's people who need insurance.
Yeah.
There's people I'll discuss with a client tomorrow.
Yeah.
That, yeah, maybe this is the right thing for them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need it.
That's right.
We may want it for the tax benefits, for his corporate assets,
Right.
but he doesn't need it. And
Yeah.
it's got to be part of a full plan.
Right. Right. So I know, I mean, we've been just talking and it's already 7:40.
Oh.
And so what I know is there are a lot of other stuff, but we have some questions that came up. So how is probate calculated? And if the property has a mortgage, is the probate calculated on the whole value of the property? And also beside the probate, is there a capital gain tax and how is it calculated, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so go ahead.
Okay, so probate in Ontario is 1.5% of the net value of your asset, your estate, except for the first 50,000. So the first 50,000 has a zero probate fee on it. Everything after that is 1.5%. If your estate includes real estate and there is a mortgage on your property, then and the value of the property is $1 million, but your mortgage is 500,000, then it's the net value of that.
Okay.
So 500,000 would be added to the value of your estate that the probate would be calculated on.
Right, right.
Capital gains is different.
Yeah,
And income tax is different,
right,
right? So there's a lot of things that are considered sold when
Right.
you pass away,
Right.
right? So probate is one part of it. The other parts are the income taxes and the capital gains.
Right.
Okay. A lot of assets that you own, like RSPs, when the second person passes away, like it'll roll over to the spouse, but then after that, it's a huge tax bill,
Right.
right? Because the whole value of it gets added to that person's final tax return.
right.
So if it bumps you up to the 50% tax bracket,
Yeah.
then half of it is going into taxes.
Taxes,
right?
yeah,
Capital gains, so primary residence, you have the primary residence exemption that
Yeah.
we all know of, so that doesn't trigger the capital gain.
right,
But if you own more than one resident,
right,
then when you pass away, it's deemed disposed, which means it's considered sold at fair market value, right?
Yeah.
And the gain in that value of the property is going to be added to your estate, like to calculating the estate administration tax,
Yeah.
the probate fee,
yeah,
and also capital gains
Right.
will be on that.
right,
So half of the gain will be added to income tax
Right.
and will be taxed
yeah,
that way.
yeah. That's a lot of taxes.
It is a lot. A big part of estate planning that people don't realize,
Yeah.
it's tax planning.
Yeah,
And that's why I say, don't do it online. It's
Yeah.
not going to do the tax
No,
calculations for
no.
you. You're still going to be,
yeah,
you and your family will still be blindsided.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's value in tax deferral,
right,
Yes.
right? That if you save money by contributing to an RSP at 25 years of age and you died 85, well, the money you saved in taxes has been invested that whole period of time, and yeah, you're going to conceivably pay at a high rate.
right,
But it's a calculation you do. You say, is it worth that benefit of deferral?
right,
But better still, you don't just blindly head into that tax bill. You
yeah,
don't just stumble into it where all of a sudden you're at the highest of tax brackets,
Right.
53.5% in Ontario.
right,
And all of this money coming into income, all your RSPs on the second death between spouses, all your RSPs, all your realized gains, the $50,000 cottage. We had a client buy one,
Yes.
a Lake Joseph property for $50,000 in the 50s. Well, it's worth a lot more than that.
yeah,
So a massive stored gain
yeah,
on that property and a probate issue.
Right.
And, but he's also got the risks that are going
Yeah.
to, it's going to be a big tax bill.
yeah,
In the years and years leading up to, hopefully you died a ripe old age and in good health.
right,
But in the years leading up to it, we want to at least try and minimize the impact of
Right.
that, while also at least paying some attention to the benefit of deferring it.
right, yeah. So I know I hear now people actually talking about like, you have a whole chunk that actually goes to the estate or kids or whatever at the very end when they pass away. But now families are looking at, giving contribution to maybe the grandkids or the kids to buy homes or whatever. They're doing it while they're alive.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah, $500,000 yesterday for a client,
Oh,
right? And he's been doing it along the way.
right,
He's in his 80s.
right,
He's realizing that he doesn't need all of the money he's accumulated.
Right.
How would he spend it now?
yeah,
And he wants to see them enjoy it,
yeah.
right? But we do that in a ways that we try to minimize the tax
Tax
impact.
impact,
right?
yeah, yeah,
He's got about $8 million.
Yeah.
We don't just sell it all
yeah,
and then pay all that taxes.
right,
We set the amount that we're going to be donating or gifting to his children
right,
at a level that tries not to get him into the highest tax bracket.
Right.
And if he does that year after year after
yeah,
year, even if all it is he pays 44% instead of 54,
right,
well,
That's a big
yeah,
savings.
Yeah.
that's 10% after tax money,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
matters. So,
yeah,
but yeah, for him, he wants to see them enjoy it.
yeah, yeah,
And there are trusts that can be set up. It depends on the circumstances. And they have their own cost, but they can have their own benefits. and-
okay,
but those have to be considered on an individual basis.
basis, yeah,
Well, and certainly for business owners,
right,
estate freezes, lots
Yes.
of other things,
Right.
using the lifetime capital gain exemption. There's plenty of planning opportunities there.
right,
Even
And-
corporations.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
but if you wait, it gets harder.
Yeah.
Planning better to take place sooner than later.
yeah,
Better now than a
yeah,
year from now,
Yeah.
better now than 20 years from now
Yeah.
or at
Yes.
death. But yeah, there is ways to try and mitigate or manage that tax liability. But not doing anything is not is never going to work out better
Yeah.
that way.
yeah, yeah, no, thank you. So regarding business under sole proprietor, if not under a trust, how does it get probated?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, sole proprietorship is, it's one and the same with the individual.
Right,
So if you're not set up as a corporation,
right,
or whatever you have in your business, the account is really in your name.
right,
It is part of probate.
Right.
Like it passes through your estate. The way to divide that would be to set up a corporation and deal with the corporation in a separate will.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
good, good. Yeah, I know. How do you know how much insurance you actually need for your estate?
Talk to people like,
Yeah, it's a good question. So let me ask you this. So let's say you had a business, RSPs, property or two, all of that. You have a net worth of $5 million.
Right,
And that the tax liability for that was going to be $800,000.
right,
A lot of money,
yeah,
right? If somebody's trying to sell you insurance, they say, well, you got an $800,000 tax liability there, you need $800,000 of insurance,
right,
right?
yeah,
And the first question we're going to say is, okay, you've got a $5 million estate here.
yeah,
It'll be 4.2 after tax.
Right.
Is that good enough?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
Your RSPs get taxed on death because none of the money in your RSPs has ever paid tax.
yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah,
The tax bill comes at the end.
right,
That's still a problem. It's still a big tax bill we want to avoid as best we can.
yeah,
But first, do you need it?
right,
And of the 5 million that you have, do you need all of the income that it generates to live your current lifestyle?
right,
Or is there excess? Is there money we should be looking at as estate planning?
right.
And that's where insurance might come in.
Okay,
That's where you say, look, we've got $10,000 a year we don't need, we're never going to need.
right.
Then there are tax benefits to that insurance, and it may well pay that $800,000.
Okay,
but also, Alan, isn't the cost of a dollar
Mhm.
when you're paying for it under an insurance policy, if you're getting it young enough and you're healthy, et cetera, right? Like all those are, it can be as cheap as like 15 cents on the dollar that you're paying.
Yeah.
Right? So you've spent 150,000 to get $1 million,
Yeah.
right? Not for everybody, but
Yeah,
and then you have more that's left over to give to your
yeah,
family,
right.
if it makes sense. But yes, don't over purchase,
Yeah.
It is tax-free money and it can go to charities, there's a lot of, tax benefits to donating to charities, et
Right.
cetera. It can be at death as well, but you're paying the taxes and you're getting more you're leaving more for your loved ones at a lower cost.
Yeah,
Yeah. Insurance is like some kind of macabre lottery,
right,
right? If you take out a policy and you get hit by a car the day after,
right.
the rate of return on your policy investment is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? You paid one monthly premium, you get $1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's not what you want.
Right.
Nobody buys insurance hoping it'll be a good investment.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Nobody wants it to pay well.
Yeah.
If you live long enough,
Right.
then you probably didn't win with insurance. Even then,
Mhm.
if you bought a permanent policy when you're 25 years of age and you die at 100,
Right.
it still has a positive rate of return. It's
Right.
just not, you didn't win the
Yeah.
macabre lottery,
Yeah.
right? The person who took that policy out at 25 and died at 26
Yeah.
won, right? But that's because the insurance companies are not in the business of making you wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not their task. Their
Yeah.
task is you have a risk and you have responsibilities, you have things you need to take care of. If you died young, what are you going to do?
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what the real need for insurance is. Apart from that need are all sorts of more complicated and possibly advantageous tax strategies.
Yeah.
Whether you're a business owner, whether you're trying to leave a cottage and keep the kids in the cottage,
Yeah.
there are ways that you want to utilize that.
Yeah.
But the simplest, easiest way to look at insurance is for very little money, you can insure the risk because the chances of somebody very young dying are very slim,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it happens. It happened to my father, and
Yeah.
it happens,
Yeah.
right? You want to make sure that your family's cared for.
Right.
And in the meantime, much like my fire insurance or anything else, I don't want to claim.
Yeah.
It's wasted money. I hope it's
Yeah.
wasted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I mean, I know that, the audience or the people on the webinar will have a lot more questions. And we are actually going to email you Marlene's and Alan's details. So you can, contact them, ask any questions. We are now like 7:50, right? And so there is a draw now. People had entered to come in. So I think maybe, Marlene, if you can just maybe pick the name. So we have
Okay.
people,
Not looking.
the lucky person there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's Annette P, who's the actual winner. So we'll send, so we had an air fryer. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and we'll send the air fryer to them. But thank you for both of you coming in. And we are going to give them all your details and we are going to get those recordings sent to everyone. But really appreciate you coming. And thank you for taking this late night.
Absolutely happy to
Yeah,
come. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. It was
Thanks.
wonderful.
Yeah, go Jays, go.
Go Jay. Go Jay.
Okay, thank you then. Yeah, okay,
Thank
thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.